What if I told you that we in the sport and tourism industry were making a glaring mistake that was impacting not only our performance, but our value proposition within our communities as well? You'd probably ask me, Stoll, what the heck are you talking about? It's got to be something huge. And the truth is, it's actually something very small. It's how we tier our events. In this video, I'm going to dive into exactly what I mean and why this is important. Hey, it's Dr. Jennifer Stoll, President and CEO of Cimarron Global Solutions. And yes, I too am a recovering event manager. I had been there. I've slept fence at 4 a.m. in the morning, as well as the founder of a sports commission here in Western Colorado. So I've seen a thing or two when it comes to this core element of our industry, the event itself. Here's the problem. When we talk about events, how we reference them is scattered across the board. But you know as well as I do that college football playoffs and a youth lacrosse tournament are not the same events. Yet oftentimes we refer to them just generically as sporting events without any differentiation as to the factors of these events that make them so uniquely different. Now we know it. We know the difference it takes to put on college football playoff game versus a youth lacrosse tournament. But you see, we work day in and day out in the industry. And most of the time, those that were trying to advocate for the value of our work do not. I've heard it time and time again where folks will be sitting in front of their city council and they'll call the youth lacrosse tournament a major event or a mega event. And I get it on one hand, you may say, Stoll, it's because it has to do with the proportionality of resources used in a community. In other words, a 100-team youth lacrosse tournament in my hometown of Grand Junction, Colorado is a big deal. Well, it may not even be a blip on the radar in a Dallas or Houston or Atlanta or otherwise. And I get your point there. But the broader issue is that if, as an industry, we can't uniformly and consistently articulate and define the core element of our industry, the event itself, then how can we ever expect anybody who are trying to vie for support or prove our performance to understand the same? And it doesn't just start with practitioners. Look, I've read all the research. In fact, there's a whole section in my dissertation about this. And really, there's no uniform and consistent classification of tiering of events, even in academia. There's type A, B, C, D, E events. There's mega events, major events, hallmark events. I kind of feel like the Wizard of Oz, like lions and tigers and bears. Oh my, how do we make sense of it all? Well, we at Cimarron Global Solutions think that this is actually a very fundamental and foundational element to not only measuring the performance of our work, but also advocating for the value of our efforts as well. So we dove in, we rolled up our sleeves, we put our brains together. It was brutal at times, tons of fun at times, and we tackled buckets and tiers and Disney princess quizzes and upside down wedding cakes and funnels and pyramids and every type of thing that we could determine to try to better create a classification system for event tiers. And what we found through that process was while no two events are created the exact same, they all have different nuances and those nuances can lean them in the direction of a category of best fit. Well, what do you mean by that? Well, what I'm saying is that you've got some events that are highly participant driven, like marathons and cycling events, versus others that are highly spectator driven, like, for example, the Super Bowl or the US Open. Not to mention that, but you've got one-time events or recurring events. You've got events that feature youth, amateur, collegiate, professional, seniors level athletes across the board. So rather than trying to find a catch-all, a perfect fit for every event tier, what we did is we came up with a best fit tiering classification. Now, is it perfect? No, it's not perfect, but I believe that part of the reason that we haven't landed on a set event terminology and definition is because there is no such thing as perfect. But on the flip side of that coin, us in the industry are suffering. We're suffering the disadvantage of not being able to properly articulate and define these events in our communities. A youth lacrosse tournament should perform very different from college football playoffs, right? One is participant driven, localized, regionalized, maybe national, probably a little bit lower on the media evaluation and so forth. But the other, That is national, if not internationally recognized, driving high media value, obviously spectator driven, and just two totally different things. So for us to measure and talk about them the same way is actually doing us a disservice as an industry. Now, I'm not going to dive much more into the details of it for now, but I am saying this is me, this is Stoll planting the flag to say, hey, I believe that we need some consistency in how we communicate and how we define events in our space. And I believe that's going to open up a plethora of opportunities for us to not only enhance our own performance, what we target, what we expect it to do, and how it actually performs, but also to garner a whole new level of buy in because it's really going to be part and parcel to us crafting our story. So stay with us over the course of this year. We're going to talk a lot about event tiers. I've linked an article below kind of outlining our case for an event tiering system. Check it out. It's totally free. And stay tuned to Cimarron Global Solutions for more knowledge and insights when it comes to all things related to the sport and tourism industry.